Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, friends and colleagues from across the world. For our second session today, we have Dr. Panos and hosted by Dr. Hakemian. Dr. Panos is from Greece, and Dr. Hakemian is a regent, a contributor to the International Extraction Academy from the beginning days, and many other projects, and he has participated in every global summit we have had since 2014. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
Pleasure to be here.
So Dr. Panos has a trademark of his mask, which is known worldwide. He was going to be wearing it during this Corona season, and also to this webinar. But more information on housekeeping matters. We're down to 48 hours of this historic global summit, on track to possibly reach 2 million dental professionals, dentists, dental surgeons, surgical assistants, hygienists across the world. And that's a bit of history that we wrote together with over 150 doctors that participated into a peer-to-peer fashion and contributed in their own ways. Some were technology savvy, some were marketing savvy, some were simply contributing their lectures for which our colleagues couldn't travel and had access to during these tough times. Hopefully we can all take this knowledge and after this summit concludes and apply it to our patients, our families, our personal lives, and come out stronger out of the pandemic than ever imaginable. With that said, thank you for joining the final days of the 2020 Peer-to-Peer Global Dental Interdisciplinary Summit. With that said, Dr. Hakemian, you have the floor.
What a great honor, Dr. Panos. I'm so excited about this lecture today for our viewers. Dr. Panos is representing Athens, Greece, the co-founder of wagro.org. I believe it's your father. Current practicing dentist, amazing reputation in the implantology and the PRP industry. I know you have 2 master's degree, one oral surgery and implantology, and another in facial aesthetics. And what I hear also, Doc, is you also own and operate a family business for tourism, where people who come to your country can also take advantage of the amazing tourism services that you guys provide. Today, I am so excited to hear about your subject because it is one that I personally have been fascinated with over the last decade. As an implantologist, I use this technology every day in my practice, and I really believe actually that it has provided a priceless support to surgeons around the world who can now utilize the technology to help their patients using the patient's own blood and cells. So with that, I'm super excited to give you the stage. Welcome. And I see you have your famous mask on as always. People want to see who's the man behind the mask, Doc. Well, welcome, Doctor.
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Arash. Huge honor that you're hosting my webinar. I wanted to also thank Dr. Kiana for the huge opportunity that he's providing me to talk and speak about, growth factors and implantology. I will not be naming any brands because even though my father is collaborating with different brands and they're paying him, none of those brands are paying me. So I will not be naming the manufacturers or the people behind them. I can tell you that I'm not using the whole PRP. I'm using a different manufacturer, a different type of growth factor, which is probably the only one in the market that has no chemical substances in it. I can name the guy behind it. It's owned by Mr. Batani, who's an amazing businessman, amazing person. But I will not be naming his brand or his entity and all that because he's not paying me directly. And since I'm always under negotiations, I've learned a few lessons that if you do something well, don't do it for free. So I will not be naming any brands during my whole presentation. But the whole idea behind it would be like what I would like to tell to my younger self when I started, the whole journey in implantology and growth factors and all that. 6, 7, 8 years ago. When I started, what I would have liked to know to avoid some of the mistakes I made. That's the whole thing. I cannot sit here and pretend, I'm a master implantologist with 30 years of experience. I know these people. I've been the slave under these people. I'm still am. So I can't pretend I know everything about it. I'm just gonna, turn on a different perspective on the issue. That's all.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's one of those technologies where you don't realize how powerful and how helpful it is until you actually start using it. And there's so many different ways to use it as well. And as I mentioned, in my offices, we've been using this technology for about a decade now, and I can't go back. And so I would love to hear how you're implementing this and how you are utilizing this to better serve your patients. So yeah, we're excited to hear all about it.
Okay. So should I start or?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay. All right. So do you see the presentation full screen?
Yes. Yes.
You're good to go.
So the name of the presentation is Growth Factors and are the Future of Dental Implantology. As you mentioned, you've been using it for around 10 years. We've been using it for a bit more in our clinic. Our clinic was founded in 1956. So when somebody hears about growth factors and 10 years of experience or 15 years, you think, "Whoa, that's a long time." But if you use growth factors in implantology 15 years ago, it's not a huge time when it comes to your patient. You see the results after 30 or 40 years. So I just wanted it to go. I wanted that statement to be out there that we still need a lot of time to make sure and how much growth factors collaborate in implantology. So let's start. This is just us, Dr. Pace, Wagner, and Rick Patel. You can follow if you want. So I wanted to before I start, I wanted to pay my respect to some of the people who have been really important in my career and my life. Apart of my father, of course, Dr. Georgakopoulos, that you have listened to before at the other webinar. I wanted to say thanks to Nicolas Adrianatos, Keanu Sa, Francesco Kikolo, who's been the professor of my master's, and Dr. Saverio Martelli. So this is not going to be a heavy lecture. I prepared it in order to reach different professionals of all ages with basic to expert knowledge of oral surgery, growth factors, and implantology. The philosophy behind it is what I would like to explain to my younger self when I started my journey on the field of implantology and the usage of growth factors, so that I would avoid the mistakes I made. So the most important part of teaching, and this is why I'm a bit skeptical when it comes to webinars, okay? So knowledge, this is the first rule when you want to learn something, at least when it comes to dental implantology and growth factors. There's only one rule, in my opinion. Knowledge is stolen, not taught. You cannot teach, dental implantology with a webinar or growth factors with a webinar or a PowerPoint presentation. I can show you, the window to dental implantology and growth factors, but you have to pass through it. In order to do that, you have to find a dental professional that you really trust, who you think he has the knowledge on that subject, and you have to go there for 5, 10, 15 years, hold the suction while he operates, and steal the knowledge from him. That's the only way you will ever become a dentist. There's no shortcut. There's no shortcut to that kind of knowledge. You have to go there, earn his trust, be his slave every day, and steal that knowledge from him. So let's start. There are different spectrums of dentistry: the general, aesthetic, orthodontic, prosthetic, endodontic, periodontics, oral, and dental. All aspects of dentistry are interlinked and codependent. However, it's possible, in my opinion, to master. It is impossible to master all aspects perfectly. Like a normal dentist can master 1, a grade 1, 2, a legendary, in my opinion, can master 3. Something like Michelin stars, it goes up to 3. The conclusion to that is, don't try when you have a complicated implant case that you want to use also growth factors or whatever. Don't try to do everything yourself if you don't know. The most important part when you're gonna start learning about growth factors and implantology is to be able to say, I don't know something. You know, that's one of the first mistakes that all the students that come to my clinic do. They try to always show me that they know. I prefer a student that says, I don't know, teach me, start from scratch. So, the different spectrums of dentistry are linked to different traits of our character. I always make fun of my best friend who's a girl, Melina, that, you know, orthodontics is more of a girl's profession because it has no blood and no serious, responsibility. You can see the final result after some time. You can always, have more patience with how you work. Others require more details, such as endodontics, where you can, be able to look through a microscope with different roots. But surgery is a profession where if you want to place dental implants and use those factors, it's very bloody, it has huge responsibility, and the consequences of those actions can be immediate. You can really cause problems to somebody if you don't know what you're doing. So if you want to be a dental implantologist, you need to master 3 arts: oral surgery, dental implantology, and implant prosthetics. One constitutes a dental implantologist. So we have marketing, mechanic, and an artist. Knowledge of marketing on your trade convinces the patient that the best solution to this problem is not the only solution, but the best solution will be dental implants. Implant placement is one of the many solutions to a clinical case that we must confront individually as a unit. Every case that goes through a clinic is different than any other one. Being a mechanic, that means you have to get into the mud of blood and tissue and mechanically create a structure that will support the prosthesis. And an artist is probably, as far as the patient is concerned, the most important part. Why? Because the dental prosthesis is the only thing that has an aesthetic result to your final result. And the final aesthetic result is what matters most to your patient. So what are dental implantology's biggest secrets? So the truth is, if we want to look at the profession of dentistry, it's a profession based on money. Every option is mandatory. So when it comes to dental implants that are one of the most luxurious options money-wise, that makes them a very optional solution to your problem. We need to find a way to make them a mandatory solution. How? We need to control 4 parameters. First, lower the cost of the procedure. Second, short final timetable. Third, minimal pain. And fourth, maximum success rate and longevity. So, cost, short final timetable, and minimum pain are already being controlled, more or less, by manufacturers, by professionals. What scares everybody around is success rate. When a patient comes to your office and says, I want this solution, we're going to do this dental implant with this prosthesis, or whatever it is. And then he says, so that's the end of my problem, right? That I'm never going to have a problem again. That will work. And we always answer, no, only God has a perfect solution. No solution is forever. That's because we're afraid of something called the success rate of our dental surgery. And that is a parameter that we need to control. And that is a parameter that I believe can be controlled with the usage of growth factors. So, as I said, 3 of the 4 parameters are easy to control. Low cost is managed by the business relationship between us and the supplier. As far as dental implants are concerned, when it comes to growth factors, it's a very economical solution. When you buy a centrifuge, you might spend like 2, 3, 4, 5,000 bucks or whatever. But after that, you have 0 cost. If you take growth factors from the blood of your own patient, there's a huge pool of no cost when it comes to that material you need. The short final timetable. When we're talking about implant placement, there are different methods. So there's usually a surgery where you do the implant placement and you have to wait 2-3 months for post-integration, and then you start working on the prosthesis. As far as the aesthetic result is concerned, mostly consists of how well we have mastered the art of prosthesis and how good our dental technician is. Many need a minimum of 3 appointments, and that is prolonged with the mistakes along the way. You know, it depends on the equipment we use. Some people with CAD/CAM, manage it very easily. Sometimes you can also place implants with immediate load. So as far as minimum pain is concerned, that depends mostly on the individual case parameters, because you might have some patients who have different problems and the anesthesia might not work, or you might confront different scenarios every day. But usually it depends on the technique and the time you have devoted into your art, but also the equipment you'll be using. So the key idea, the maximum success rate and longevity. So if you look at the different bibliography, you will find out that around 90 to 95% success rate as far as dental implants are concerned. When you hear that, you say 5%, 10%. That means like what? 5 out of 100 implants, 10 out of 100 implants. And that's not a bad percentage. But that could mean that when you do a full jaw reconstruction, you might lose, and you place 8 implants on top or 6 in the bottom, and you lose one of them. Then you might have to do an additional surgery. That's additional surgery for you, for the patient, more cost, explaining to do. That 5 or 10% is a huge percentage. The key to my idea, that what I'm trying to explain, is that through growth factors, you could get from 5% very close to 1%, and 1% could be for me an acceptable percentage. One out of 1,000 would be even better, but 1% is an acceptable percentage. So the solution to that lower percentage, in my opinion, are growth factors. Growth factors have always been considered a non-essential part of oral surgery and dental implantology. Some don't know how to use them and don't believe in them, or even consider them a luxury gadget with no mandatory usage. If we want to be true, when it comes to growth factors, people still do not believe in them 100%. They consider them something that we just throw out there, and they don't really know how to work them, manipulate them, and really use them. So growth factors. Let's just go through the whole biology and tell you some details on growth factors. So it's a natural occurring substance capable of stimulating cellular growth. It's been currently used in different aspects of medicine, such as orthopedic, plastic, and others. It is usually a protein that signals molecules between cells, promoting differentiation and maturation. Oral surgery and dental implantology, we use it to enhance tissue and bone regeneration, both very important parameters when it comes to dental implant success rate. So what this slide says is, these are some proteins who just enhance, speed up tissue and bone reconstruction. How do we mine them? So the technique to obtain them is we take a small quantity of blood obtained by a patient. I suggest to all the dental practitioners I know to hire a very beautiful nurse, because all the patients just let go, and she takes the blood and they don't even know about it. So we take the blood from the patient, use the centrifuge machine, and we put the tubes in, and we get a final product after some time, with the serum on the top, growth factors in the middle, and red blood cells in the bottom. So we take the product out, cut, and throw away the red part, the red cells, and we use the growth factors. Here it is. You can see more or less how the product of growth factors are in the tube. So it is an autologous product with a large number of growth factors retrieved after centrifugation from the patient's blood. Growth factor functions as a fibrin tissue adhesive with hemostatic and tissue sealing properties, with unique ability to enhance osteogenesis. Osteogenesis is a key word when it comes to osseointegration and dental implants. So, analysis. Growth factors. Depending on the technique we use, it can be a product of a high concentrated growth factors with no chemical additive. So there are different products in the market right now. The one I use, which is Mr. Badani's product, I will not name neither his company or the centrifuge or anything else. if you would ask me, I would say his product is the best in the market right now by far. Cannot be compared with the others, but I will not advertise it for free. Sorry, Dr. Badami. So the product that we will get through centrifugation is liquid and gel growth factors, membrane growth factors, and sticky bone, which is a combination of growth factors and bone graft. So liquid and gel growth factors, the pure and basic form of growth factors obtained by different tubes via centrifuge. Liquid is usually used for aesthetic purposes. For a dental implantologist, it has a huge significance, as we use it to create sticky bone when putting it over the graft we use. So what does that mean? I usually use liquid growth factors for things like aesthetic purposes like mesotherapy, but I can also use it for when I have periimplantitis or periodontititis. But when it comes to bone reconstruction, where we want to use sticky bone, I take the liquid and pour it over the bone graft in order to make it stick together. The gel also, I centrifuge it once or twice depending on the graft, and then combine it all together to create one of the most important tools when it comes to bone reconstruction for implant placement. That part is that is sticky bone. Here are some images of liquid growth factor. We also have the membrane. Membrane is a very important tool, very easy to create. You create it after manipulating the growth factor that comes out of the tube. It is very, very helpful when it comes to the final stages of our surgery. It holds together all the grafts. It can help you with the sutures, and it's super sticky and super powerful. Here's an example after a surgery where I used a membrane to close, the gap that I created. So sticky bone. Sticky bone, in my opinion, is the most important part when it comes to dental implant placement in the jaw. When it comes to success rate, that little thing will help you take your surgeries to another level. So what it is, it's a combination of growth factors in a gel and liquid form, and I obtain the final form by using, I take the bone graft, depending if it's a bone graft, it's a human or a synthetic. I take the liquid form, I put it over the bone graft to make it stick together, and then I centrifuge the gel. Depending on the graft I use, I might centrifuge it once or twice, if it's allogenic or synthetic, and then combine those together, then you create the sticky bone. Sticky bone is what I will combine in a surgery on the jaw with different techniques to bind it together in order to be able to create bone, because I might have 3 or 4 millimeters of bone, and then be able to place implants that when I started I had 3 millimeters, and then I might have 15 or 16 millimeters to bury my implants in. Growth factors and sticky bone. The most important tool we have when it comes to dental implantology success rate. When placing a dental implant, we look for quality but also quantity of bone. Also integration. When we look for a normal microscope, sometimes I have this debate with my students. They say, how much of also integration we have on a dental implant? Maybe 20%. And if you look through an electronic microscope, you have no also integration. But sticky bone, when placed in the jaw, will help us create the millimeters of bone we need to be able to place implants on any kind of clinical scenario we can come. This is an example photo of the so-called sticky bone scenario. This is a scenario where I put the implant and the sticky bone together. So, phases of dental implantology. This is what I would say when a patient comes through the door and he wants to place dental implant. So as I said before, every case is different. Before you start saying, because in the last 10 years, implants are in fashion. 10 years in a profession like mine is a very small period. And they're in fashion, why? Because everybody wants to gain money. And I've heard so many prices, even here in Greece, we are like a very small country, that drives me crazy. Confront every scenario differently. So when he comes through the door, your patient, you have to always ask him for a panoramic X-ray and a CBCT scan. I also ask for full blood by a microbiology exam, especially with a D3 focus, because it's one of the elements that will tell you if he's able to also integrate the implant and he has a good bone quality. So the panoramic X-ray and the CBCT will show me the bone quantity, but the microbiology exam will show me the bone quality. And you can also, and I also ask for different biology exams, such as CRP exam, because, for example, I had a patient the other day. He came in. He wanted to place dental implants. So I sent him to do all the microbiology exams, and he had a CRP of 125. So CRP is around 20 or so, depends. It's the exam that shows you if there's inflation in the body, if your body is fighting something. He had cancer in the liver and died a few months later. He didn't even know. He found out through the test we had on the dental implant. And so after you studied the clinical case, looked at the X-ray, looked at the actual patient, then you have to schedule the whole surgery plan. Most dentists out there, because they have no patience, that's why most professionals usually choose dental implantology, because it's one of the aspects of dentistry that you need zero patience. You start and you finish in one day. That's what they always advertise to the patients too. The patients come and say, I want to place dental implants. How long will it take? Oh, one surgery. Come here, I'll do it in one surgery. So they take out their teeth, they place the implants in the same day. What happens? 50% of those patients come after 3 or 4 months and you have to pull the implants out. I call them cowboys, okay? For me, I might be very, conservative for my age, but I will always tell you, build a trust with your patient and then tell him, you know what? Let's do an implant, let's do a surgery only for bone reconstruction. Let's create the job that you need to place those implants. And let's take 3 months to do that. And then after 3 months, we will do an additional surgery for the implants. And 3 months after that, we're going to have this also integration. So instead of promising him that, in 3 months, it'll be all over. No, tell him the truth, be patient, spend your time, and in 6 months, you will have a very high success rate. Most cases could allow you to do an immediate load, but in my opinion, 20% of most of cases are very, very difficult clinical scenarios. As such, believe me that growth factors can help you make those difficult clinical scenarios have a high success rate. So here's a growth factor sticky bone simultaneous placement together with the implant. So I opened up the patient. I think he was a 55-year-old male. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while. I could not get to my archive because I was somewhere else because of the quarantine. So these are the photos I had. Here's how I used the collagen membrane there to suture at the end. So, jaw reconstruction. So if there's no bone for implant stability, most dentists try to place implants wherever they can. And I have even observed zygomatic implant placement, which drives me crazy. Crazy, because okay, whether we like it or not, minimal invasion surgery is the best surgery to follow. And zygomatic implants drive me insane. I've also seen, you don't need more than 8 implants to place prosthesis in the upper jaw. And I've seen people place 10 or 11. Not because the clinical case is difficult, because they know that they've rushed it out. So some of the implants might go to waste. as I said before, build the trust with your patient. Use growth factors, and you will maximize your success rate in very complicated cases. So, lower and upper jaw reconstruction. If we're talking about full jaw reconstruction and implant placement, a normal rule is that it's 8 implants in the upper jaw and 6 implants in the lower jaw. I divide implant placement in the jaw in 4 different parts. All parts have different levels of complication and danger. So, lower jaw. It's for me. This is my opinion. This is how I create the whole plan. Okay. So the lower jaw has a first one that's cunning to cunning. The most complicated and dangerous implant placement, in my opinion. If we are doing a full jaw reconstruction in the lower jaw, avoid that part. It has a very, very complicated mandible anatomy. You can fall into open space, cut an artery, and I've seen people lose their licenses because of that, never be able to do a surgery again. It's one of the most complicated parts to place an implant. The second part will be cutting to second molar. So it's less complicated than the first part, but still requires great skill, as you must avoid the inferior labial vein. You can turn your patient numb and have a serious post-surgery complications. Reconstruction here, okay, it's a very, when we do a full jaw reconstruction, that's what I usually do. I do a full jaw reconstruction of the lower jaw, the upper jaw. I usually place three blends between a cunning to the second molar and 3 from cunning to second molar of the other side. In order to do that, so I will not be reading so much that slide, as I'm going to be describing it from memory, the surgery, to explain how I use the growth factors on it. So I do this, I cut the tissue separated, expose the bone. Always be very careful to understand the anatomy. Apart from the scans and the x-rays or whatever, find where the nerve is, find the arteries, find everything, so you know where you're going to be working, your height, sometimes the bone structure that you will see when you open the guy up or the patient up will be different than what you see in the x-ray. So you open it up, you clean it all, you decide when you're going to put the implants or not. Maybe you're going to just do the reconstruction, and then you create the sticky bone. So I create the sticky bone using different kinds of CGS, of growth factors, liquid, gel, combine it with my grafts. I usually, when it goes to lower jaw, I usually only use allergenic, but depends. And then, what we need for it to stick together with your jaw is blood flow. How do you create that? So you puncture using the drill, the jaw. You do different small, puncture holes in the jaw. Place the sticky bone on it. Then you use titanium mesh membranes to cover it up. Drill the titanium membranes on the jaw, and you cover everything up with your growth factors membrane. You suture it up, and you let it go. The biggest threat in that is if you haven't sutured it up, because when you open it up, the tissue holds a jaw that's going to be very different after you fill it up with the sticky bone. It's going to be much bigger. So you need to be able to understand how to expand the soft tissue in order to cover it all up, to cover all your graft up with the tissue. Because if you haven't covered all the graft up, then the sutures will be open, and the whole surgery will go to waste. Here's an example of the case I just showed you. So I put the sticky bone and the mesh membranes, and I used the growth factor membranes, and then I sutured it all up. So let's go to the upper jaw. The first part again will be the cunning to cunning. For me, it's the most complicated part to place an implant because of the aesthetic complications. And you see, after we take out a tooth, we have bone loss. But most people, most manufacturers maybe, what they don't tell you is that after you place an implant, you still have a bone loss. Doesn't mean because you're going to replace the tooth with an implant that your body will accept it as a tooth and will not lose any bone. So when the bone, goes down, you have you will export part of the implant, and that's a huge problem when it comes to aesthetic purposes with the patient. So the whole technique behind that will be when we use growth factors, right? So we put the implant in and we try to bury it as far as deep as we can. But then, in order to have also integration, we cover the implant up with allogenic sticky bone graft. So after we use our sticky bone, allogenic, whatever, and we cover it up, then that graft, that sticky bone graft, will also integrate in a level that could still, retrieve and show part of the implant. What I do then is I cover everything up with a second sticky bone using growth factor. That sticky bone will be a synthetic one. I usually use a coral, but depends on the case and whatever. If you use a synthetic, the synthetic does not also integrate so aggressively and so fast. So that will solve your aesthetic problem. Now, the part that I will focus most is the second part in the upper jaw, which is coming to third molar, second molar or whatever. If we have no bone availability, then follows one of the biggest urban legends that drives dentists as scary as today. That's called the sinus surgery for implantation. So, if there is no bone for implantation, because when I do a upper jaw reconstruction, I place 4 implants and 4 implants on both sides, avoid the aesthetic part between coming, and there are different techniques to do that. So, if you want to be true on the subject, okay, and I know he's my father or whatever, but in my opinion, he's probably the leading implantology when it comes to growth factor users or whatever. The leading implantology globally, that's my father. He created the technique called IPG dead. So this is probably the most revolutionary technique ever invented when it comes to implantation, because everybody out there, every single person out there, when it comes to sinus, when it comes to implantation in the sinus, they've discovered all these different techniques, balloons or elevate the sinus or whatever. Spending so much money, spending whatever they've been spending, time and money. That crazy guy, he invented that technique where you perforate the sinus membrane intentionally. That's crazy. If you think about it, that's crazy. It's solving all the problems. But I will let you follow his lecture on that method. I will not talk about it anymore. So, when it comes to one of my favorite methods on sinus floor elevation, I will talk about the summer floor elevation with the personal approach. It's a genius technique. It's a technique that everybody should learn before they know, or at the same time they learn the technique that I mostly use. I use the lateral window, because the summer floor elevation is like a minimal surgery approach. That means that you will not go into the sinus in the same way that you would go through a lateral window. You will not have the same problem. That also has its dangers, if you perforate the sinus membrane or whatever. But it's a very, very interesting technique, in my opinion. The technique I'll be talking to you about is the technique I call lateral window approach. So it's a very, very important method that every dental implantologist should know, in my opinion, and it's what you have to learn before. It's like the basic knowledge, like the Bible, in my opinion. And I do that technique while using sticky bone and growth factor. So here's an image of how I've opened up the sinus in the lateral window. I'll just put it up for a couple more seconds. Okay, so lateral windows and sinus lift. It's super scary if you've never done it before. It's very complicated. The biggest complication will be sinus infection. There are also minor complications that you might confront, like the vein or the arteries, or if you perforate the sinus membrane. But those would not be so scary as having a sinus infection in the patient, because post surgery, a sinus infection, you might have to go to the hospital or whatever. It's a huge deal. So always sterilize your equipment. Always know what you're going to be using. In order to do it, we would using growth factor. We would do it to using liquid and gel growth factor membrane, and sticky gold. I've been using it for around 5 years. And I've been creating, I've been doing 5 to 10 surgeries of lateral window a week. I've been creating for at least 10 to 15 millimeters of additional bone each time. So let's go into the technique. First, we do the incision. We perform a vertical, relaxing incision on the mucosa. As the second premolar, usually, and then on the second premolar, a bit meshily. It's one of the small secrets. If you do the incision a bit meshily, that will help you at your final stages, because whatever you do on your surgery, suturing your surgery up is one of the most important parts when it comes to whatever implant or reconstruction surgery you do. Because if you lose the sutures because your mucosa, your soft tissue isn't relaxed enough and it's not sutured good enough, then you're going to lose the results of your surgery. So after we we do the incision, we separate the soft tissue or whatever, then again, do not trust your x-rays. You're gonna see that there are the different coloration on your bone. When the coloration is red and white, it's because it's having a blood flow. If it's more gray, it's because it has because of the air, because of the hole behind on the sinus. So you're gonna you're gonna drill what the gray color is. So we will cut the periosteum with a bar drill in a circle void shape, but not all the way. So we will cut it until it's super thin, and then we will use our material to open it up a little bit, push it inside, then separate the lateral window we've opened around here on the bone. We will separate slowly, try to separate the sinus membrane, and then after we've separated, even if we perforate the membrane, that's okay, because if we use growth factors, then we throw the growth factors in there, and that will heal it. It will be healed. It doesn't matter. So we separate the membrane and then take the window out. After the window we've opened up is on the sinus, ceiling, then what we do is we start to create the sticky bone. We're going to use 2 different types of sticky bone. So at the bottom, we're going to be using a sticky bone, allogenic sticky bone. Why? Because this is the place where the implants will be. Sometimes we might also place the implants while we do the lateral window reconstruction, whatever. If we don't, even if we do, we're going to do allogenic sticky bone on the bottom for better osseointegration. And then we're going to put synthetic, or I use coral again, on the top, sticky bone for slow osseointegration. Oh yeah, mesoblast. That's a chef's word I've used. The one on the bottom of my presentation. Always know where your equipment is. Do not use the same equipment that you're going to be using for cutting the soft tissue or whatever in the sinus. If you take something from your equipment that might not be sterilized and put it in the sinus, then you're going to have the biggest problem: sinus infection. As I said before, 2 types of sticky bone, one with autologous bone graft, one with synthetic. We use both for bone graft osseointegration. And synthetic has a minimum because of less osseointegration. After the sinus is filled with sticky bone, we protect the sinus lateral window with growth factor membrane and suture the mucosa. Biggest complication is sinus infection. We can create up to 15 millimeters of bone for implant placement that allow us to bury the implant deep into the bone and create a secure foundation for our prosthesis. Conclusion: we must make our business to almost always use a growth factor bone graft. It will enhance the osseointegration to such a level that it will change your life as far as dental implantology is concerned forever. You will see and create bone structures in order to place your implants faster and better than in complicated scenario with people smoking or with where other dentists don't want to go near, because sticky bone with the usage of slow factors when it comes to bone reconstruction can change your whole perspective. And I just wanted to make clear that, you know, all those facts that are presented are my opinion. Does not mean they're correct. In my opinion, in my perspective. And I want to give an advice to anybody who wants to learn how to be a dental implantologist or to be, you know, a neurosurgeon. You have to find somebody you trust. You know, we have a lot of students here in our clinic. We've been operating for I don't know how long, and they come here and they, you know, I always tell them the one who bothers me most when I do a implant surgery is the one that I trust is going to learn the most. You have to go in the surgery with somebody you trust and steal the knowledge from them. So I'm going to show you some clinical cases here. I didn't have, because of the quarantine, been able to access our archives because they're in a different building, but I'm going to show you some of the stuff I have. So this is an IPG depth technique, the one that my father uses. You can see, I don't know if you can see the mouse. You can see that he has maybe 3 millimeters of bone structure. So the guy pierced through the sinus lower membrane and placed the implant there, and the final prosthesis. Here's before, here's after. Okay, so here's a clinical case that I did like maybe just a week before the quarantine, and that's the CBCT scan the guy brought me after I reconstructed. So if you're a dentist, you can actually see where, you know, the floor was before. The floor was like 3 millimeters at most. So I didn't want to go in the cowboy, you know, way my father goes, because my father, you know, has been working for 50 years on implants, so he has the right to do the IPG technique. I do not have the right to do it, even though I co-wrote it with him. And I created with a lateral window all this bone structure here. You can see the bone reconstruction here for the implant placement. Now, we gain at least 10 millimeters to 15. Now, here's one of the secrets I wanted to show you. So here's the patient. He comes here, he wants to do the whole dental implants or whatever. I say, okay, let's place him. Let's do a lateral window. Because I heard the lateral window from Panos or whatever, I want to do it. I've seen it a couple of times in a surgery. I've seen it in a seminar. I'm prepared to do it. So I go there and I do it. This is the CBD scan. I look at it and say, you know, I'm the man. I know where I'm going to go. You know, wherever. I'm going to break it here. I'm going to go in, create it. So here are some of the images of CBD scan. Does anybody see anything? No, just you know, the space or whatever. So let's go a bit further. So you go in, you do the whole surgery, you open your window up, and you go with your drill, you know, just a few millimeters before you go and push it using your equipment. And then suddenly, you're covered in blood. All your face is covered in blood. The wall behind you is covered in blood. What's going on? Did I kill him? Well, what the hell is going on? But you didn't see because you haven't devoted enough years in your profession, you know, holding the suction for that surgeon, not to your shoulders. You can't feel your shoulders or your knees or wherever it's at. There's a vein. There's a vein right here, and here, and here, and here. So if you go, you can see the vein all over your lateral window. So there's a technique behind that, you know. When you do the lateral window, there's a technique in order to preserve the vein. So you don't go all the way, you make a thicker layer of lateral window, you do different equipment to push it over, and you push, you know, you stop before the vein and push the vein together with the lateral window up. But you learn all the stuff up and you can cover all the stuff up using growth factors. But what I'm going to say to you is this. 2 things you need to know when you're going to be a dental implantologist, the future implantologist. First, learn growth factors. They're going to change. These are the future. Whether the manufacturers want to slowly integrate them in our lives because they can control them, they are the future. Learn them. And the second, find a professional you trust and steal his knowledge. So that was my presentation. I just wanted to say thank you very much. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. So I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear you. Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Panos.
No, I
Dr.
can hear you. I can hear you.
Dr. Hakimian is back to host you.
Wonderful. Yeah,
Sorry?
I enjoy that very much. I want to ask you some questions. Some of the ways that I use it. So I use sticky bone in every single bone graft I do, and one of the main reasons is when you have the movement of those bone particles after the placement is when they actually increase in failure rate. So just by having the bone stabilized, using the sticky bone and those growth factors has been a huge help because the bone doesn't migrate all over the place. Is that your experience as well?
So, just sticky bone has a name for itself. Sticky bone means it sticks. It's actually very sticky, so it goes on the joint. But you also have to use different techniques, like make sure there's a blood flow between the joint and sticky bone, or use your, I use a mesh membrane, but depends what kind of membrane you're going to use. But sticky bone by growth factors is going to be your number one solution, in my opinion, my perspective, my clinical experience, my college or whatever. If you want to do a jaw reconstruction, either you want to do an immediate implant placement or you want to leave it for like 3 or 4 months later.
Yeah, I think for me it has really helped increase the volume and also, as I mentioned, decrease the migration rate.
Exactly.
I actually have done probably several hundred sinus lifts with no bone at all. I've used pure CGF, create the tent, and I found that to be very successful. I don't have to waste tons of bone. I don't introduce a foreign body into the sinus, and it works just fine. I basically just do my lateral window, place my implants, and above those I put a bunch of CGF, and I have the tenting that I require, and it all fills in with bone. And
I agree 100% with you, 100%.
Yeah, and tons of other applications too. So I think personally we've increased the width of keratinized tissue. We see tons of people using it for tunneling techniques. I've actually used it and injected it in my patients' lips. I know you have a master in aesthetics too. There's a whole nother world with utilization of growth factors in cosmetics in the lip area, in the gums, underneath the keratinized tissue.
I'll tell you what the biggest problem in my clinic. My mother is around 60 years old, so she looks like 40. So I have all these old ladies that come to my clinic. They want to do what I do to her, mesotherapy and stuff. And I'm like 30 years old, so it's like it's borderline sexual harassment when I have mesotherapy sessions with growth factors. I'm telling you.
Yeah, when I first learned about this, I had a small religious moment for a second where I felt a little closer to God, because I realized I was doing surgeries around the world, and in a lot of places, there's a cost to membrane, there's a cost to bone. You have to purchase these, and when I realized that all of this was inside the patient's blood, and I can actually utilize something that was God given, and it saved tons of money, but it even works better. Sometimes it worked better than the alternative. It was a real.
Why do you think that growth factors are not so fastly developing? Because that would mean that most manufacturers will lose their money.
Right.
So many. It's revolutionary. It changes our whole perspective on because dentistry is a very, very economically based profession in all aspects. I used to work in Spain for a very long time, and I used to work in a clinic where very poor people would come, and there were people where you could use an orthodontic solution to their problem, and the mothers would say, no, take out their teeth. I don't have the money for orthodontics. So, as I wanted to say the same thing now, that using growth factors might revolutionary the whole equipment usage, and most of the equipment will be out of date. So manufacturers do not help us as far as growth factors are concerned. We need to believe and experiment ourselves.
Absolutely, and I would invite people who are just wanting to get involved. I I actually the first centrifuge I bought was on eBay, and I bought a very basic centrifuge, a couple of $100. I now own multiple different centrifuges because I know the angle and the spinning rotation all matter very much. But I actually was just so I was so impressed with it. I ended up purchasing more centrifuges, but it really worked fine off my very cheap $300 centrifuge off of eBay. It was much better than nothing. And in fact, doctor, in my office, I had my brother, I had several other doctors who were close friends of mine. We actually used the same technology, and we were injecting each other's hairs. We were injecting under our skins, and there's tons of other benefit: hair regeneration, collagen regeneration. So there's tons of other applications to this. But I think within dentistry, I think practices can immediately make themselves more profitable in the sense that they will spend less on membranes, spend less on bone grafting material. They can charge for this as an adjunct procedure, and it completely separates. I think when the patient is getting their blood taken and they see the process, they think you're a completely more advanced dentist. They've never seen this, they've never experienced it, and that perception also goes a long way. I'm sure you found similar experience in your practice as well.
I know, no, we have a huge team here, and that's why growth factors have revolutionized our clinic. I think we've been using the same growth factor equipment because I heard you call the name of the growth factor before, but I will not call it out. But yeah, growth factors for me is the future of implantology. As far as the success rate of implant is concerned, you know what I mean? Because we've been also transplanting teeth from the same patient, so sometimes we'll be doing that, but that's a small experiment of my father who's been doing whatever. But they will revolutionize the success rate. That's what I'm focused on, because it's one of the parts where we're all very skeptical, like growth factors. Everybody's very skeptical on them. So success rates on implants, very skeptical on them. I think growth factors will maximize that success rate.
Absolutely, I agree, and I think for those who haven't ventured out into the utilization of growth factors, PRF, PRP, CGF, I think the first thing you should do is just start watching some videos. There's certainly amazing classes that you can take, but there's an abundant source of information on the internet. And I would just purchase a introductory centrifuge and just start playing around with it. There's also these amazing sensors now where you can put it over the arm. It'll actually show you where all the arteries are. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah, for me it was actually very easy. I go through the normal things that you see when people take blood, and I have a very bright light in my office. So we shine the bright light, and it illuminates all the arms, the veins, the artery, so I can see exactly where I'm going to draw the blood. And it's been a very simple procedure. Nothing really major.
I always say find a hot nurse to do that. Do not concern yourself with 100 stuff. Be the guy who just goes in the surgery to do your surgery. Find a hot nurse, an experienced one that will not hurt the patient while taking the blood. She has everything ready. You have all your equipment sterilized and ready. You have your assistant there. Have everything ready. Pay the extra 50 or 100 bucks. Make the patient pay them, and have a perfect surgery. Control everything that you can control. You can't control everything, obviously. I had a patient the other day. He started fainting. I only anesthetized him, and he started to faint. You could not control that, but everything else. Control. Pay the extra money to control, and the patient, when he leaves your clinic, if he happens to go somewhere else, he'll say, "Shit, I can't believe I went from there where the guy had a great nurse, a great assistant or whatever, everything was amazing, to this guy who's trying to take the blood himself. He always wears this mask like that." Guys, when I see my students wear the mask like that, I always am at the point of killing them, because so the air doesn't come only out of your mouth, it comes also out of your nose, right? So you have to be perfect as far as as everything you can control. Control your environment and use growth factors. it's going to change all your perspective when it comes to oral surgery.
Now, doctor, do you routinely put anything else into it? Stem cells, acellular matrix? Do you add anything to your growth factors on a regular basis, or is it case by case?
I always say it's case by case. That's one. I hate to generalize, you know, a clinical treatment. It's always case by case. Whenever I can, I try to use as many things that I can. Better to use something more than something less. Take more blood, you know, a couple of tubes more. It's okay. It doesn't matter. Take a couple of tubes. No, don't take 6. Take 8. You know, and just use everything you can just to make sure. Even though if you don't really need it, you practice every week. If you do 5 sinus lifts, that's a huge experience for you. You know what I mean? Every case will be different. You're gonna perforate the membrane in that one. You're gonna cut the artery in the other. Something will go wrong. You will learn. You know, my biggest fear when I started is, will I be able to control my environment? Understand? It wasn't to make money. That obviously I want to make a lot of money, buy expensive cars and go to the club or whatever. My biggest fear would be control the environment. Understand that you're going to confront a clinical scenario. You know, it's going to be super complicated. Something will go differently than what you're used to it, and you have to be able to control it. You know, understand it. Growth factors will help you confront scenarios that, you know, when you perforate the sinus membrane in a lateral window, which happens very often because sometimes, you know, the sinus has a weird anatomy and it can cut through it. You know, sometimes the membrane is super thin and super soft and it will cut with no fault of your own. You know what I mean? So you take the gel growth factors and you throw it in, and then you see there was no infection. There was the membrane was regenerated. Everything was okay. You know, they will solve problems that could not be solved before, because before when you perforate the sinus membrane, sometimes you have to close him up and stop and do the surgery another day. But using growth factors will let you, you know, continue doing the lateral window. Very different.
Yeah, I think for me too, one step even beyond the growth factors from the blood, I actually started using the tooth itself as a regenerative you know, source. So you know, we initially started with the dental grinders, which I'm sure you're familiar with. So
we have the tooth transformer here.
Pardon?
I don't know. We have something called tooth transformer where you take the tooth, throw it in, and it makes the graft. I know.
Yeah, and I've actually used it as a block graft. Imagine cutting off the crown of your tooth and demineralizing that, sterilizing that, and then being able to actually not grind it up in its pure form, be able to create a block graft. And I've seen one of the doctors I lecture with, Dr. Son, he actually uses the crown and puts the implant through. If you have a 4-wall defect, he puts the implant through the crown of the tooth, gets initial stability, and then grafts around it. I mean, some amazing stuff, and it just goes to show that there's so much more that we can do utilizing our own body, utilizing our own cells, and that there's a bright future. Not only decreasing the costs in the office, but also decreasing costs for the patients and giving you better clinical outcomes. So I think this is one of those unique things that is really going to help clinicians around the world and hopefully eventually patients around the world. So we appreciate you, Doctor, coming on today.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you to Global Summit for putting on such a wonderful lecture series. You guys almost 2 million viewers from around the world, represented in all the major countries. And what a great pleasure and honor it's been to really bring together these amazing speakers from around the world, sharing knowledge and advice and information with our peers on this P2P platform. So with that, Doc, we would like to thank you. Where can people reach you if they want to get in contact with you?
So first, I want to say thank you, Dr. Arash. Thank you so much, seriously, for the conversation and everything. I want to say thanks to Dr. Kianer, the amazing friend, most of all, more than a professional, and the opportunity he gave me. And if somebody wants to reach us, they can do it in Instagram, drface.gr, and they can learn more about us there.
Amazing. Wonderful. Thank you, Doc. Welcome back, Dr.
Thank you so much for hosting. Dr. Akemian, Panos, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. Also, more information about the World Academy of Growth Factors and Stem Cells can be found at wagro.org. We look forward to becoming this next generation of innovators and working with WAGRO in the many years to come. Gentlemen, thank you for your contributions to this peer-to-peer experiment and project. And we see you for the big celebration on Sunday. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.